Hey guys, get ready with me while I talk about the Great Depression. Okay, so the Great Depression lasted from 1929 to the late 1930s when the stock market crashed on October 29th, 1929, called Black Tuesday. It was a huge economic crash where people went from having everything to having nothing, and it was a huge game changer for the United States economy. Okay, so the thing about the Great Depression is that it didn't just affect the stock market, it also affected banks, which meant everyone's savings completely went to nothing. So the unemployment rate spiked to 25%. So 25% of the United States was struggling to find a job, struggling to keep a house, and had absolutely no savings, nothing for security. And at the time, Herbert Hoover was the president, and he believed in a hands-off, laissez-faire approach to government. Because of this, he just thought the Depression would fix itself. So when it didn't, the American people started blaming him for everything that was going on. So they started adding Hoover in front of the names of everything. So like Hoovervilles were makeshift shacks that now homeless people had to live in, and like a Hoover blanket would be a newspaper. Things took a turn when Franklin D. Roosevelt went into office in 1933. Okay, unlike Hoover, FDR decided not to wait for the economy to fix itself, and he implemented a plan called the New Deal that focused on the 3 R's: relief, recovery, and reform. One of the programs was him declaring what's called a national bank holiday, where he closed down the banks for a few days to prevent panic withdrawals and to stabilize the economy. A couple of the other programs he enacted were the Civilian Corps Act, which gave jobs to young men in the conservation industry, and the Social Security Act, which basically lays the foundation for our modern welfare. A lot of people did have issues with the New Deal, so there were people who thought that it gave the government too much power, and on the other hand, we had people who thought that the New Deal wasn't doing enough to help the poor. Ultimately, it did help bring the country out of the worst of the Depression. Overall, the Great Depression was a turning point in United States history that shaped the United States economically, politically, and socially. It had society questioning the federal government and led to reforms that are still in place today. And now you're a pro at the key concepts of the Great Depression.